Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's brand new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends. And of course, I am your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have an absolutely stellar show for you tonight. We're talking breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. That is right. And in an answer or haymaker in a return to re-grab the headlines. Sony, SIE, PlayStation has officially acquired Bungie for $3.8 billion, and it is obviously a big story. So much so that I had to rework the entire program that I had written originally, and we will come back around to that, of course. But listen, as we wait for Kay Asante and Everborn Saga to kind of work their way in here, let's get into our two guests that we have. That's right, not one, but two guests. I'm going to start with the Muffin Man. What's going on, brother? How the heck are you? Please let people know where you're from. What's your podcast name?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin, aka the Muffin Man. But I am the host and founder of Project X Talk, an Xbox podcast, and Project X Talk YouTube channel. So we are content creators, me and a few of us, Ethan, Tom, Amon, Garrett. We're a group that focus on the Xbox ecosystem, making daily content here on YouTube. We have a weekly podcast Thursdays. Boom was on it a few weeks ago. If you were lucky to catch that episode, we appreciate you. But yeah, that's where I'm from, and I'm just happy to be here. We're working hard, putting out the content and trying to grow our brand. So I appreciate the invite, Boom.
Oh, it is a pleasure to have you, brother. And we also have another guest. I don't know if there's something happened with the camera or something with his internet. Mr. Real Nonstop Talent is also joining us, but we will get to him as soon as he gets back in here. I just messaged him. Hopefully, there are no power issues. He's all the way from Puerto Rico, which is awesome. He interviewed me a couple of weeks ago. Great dude. I can't wait for people to get to know him. But let's get into our panel that is here. Wandering Dutch, brother, you have a lot to say on this. The DM was on fire, and we're going to get into it. I'm not going to speak for you, but I cannot wait to get your take both on what you think of the deal, but more importantly, on the back end of the conversation, which is going to be the second half of the show, it's what Jim Ryan had to say. As a matter of fact, even Jeff Grubb got in on the conversation during his emergency stream where he thinks the next one is a publisher, but didn't specify who. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation up front and on the back end. Welcome.
Yes, good evening, everybody. It's going to be another yet again another interesting day today, isn't it? Because January isn't letting up at all. This has got to be one of the most bonkers starts to a generation we've seen.
Yeah, indeed.
I don't think we'd ever seen ourselves talking about, well, Bungie are just kind of are anybody's these days. The Xbox, well, Apple and then Xbox, and then over to Activision and now Sony. How long is this relationship going to last? When's Amazon coming to buy them again? So it's just a mad time. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's opinions on this because obviously, if you follow me, you've seen I've had quite a few already. So it's going to be interesting. Looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to hear. And as a matter of fact, I was correct. The power he lost power, but Mr. Real Nonstop is going to be back momentarily. He's restarting his PC as we speak. But let's welcome in the Mag. Hey Mag, this is
sir.
Again. I mean, I think everyone's onto something. This is what a way to start a generation. Certainly, 2022 has been nothing short of gaming news at its absolute finest. I mean, it started out with like a little drip of water with great games going into Game Pass. Then we get Extraction in Game Pass. Then we get the information that, of course, Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox. Then we get the big bomb announcement with the Activision Blizzard. And, of course, not to be outdone, because Sony has a big game coming out next in the middle of the month in Horizon Forbidden West, which we're all excited for.
Yep.
But my God, getting in bed with Bungie for nearly $4 billion. Wow.
Yeah, well, you know what? Dutch said it right. You said it right. This is one hell of a start to the year. I got to tell you that. I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I never, if someone came to me on New Year's Eve and said, what do you think is going to happen to January? I would have said nothing. It's going to be cold. But then all of a sudden, this thing comes around, and let me tell you something. This is hot, and it's crazy. And you know what? Buckle in, folks, because I'll tell you right now, this is only going to get wilder and crazier as the competition heats up. You guys think this is literally they're just basically getting off the starting blocks. You wait till next year, and you wait till the year after that. It's going to keep getting crazier and crazier and wilder. And let me tell you, what a time to be podcasting. Boom, what a hell of a time to have a channel. Dutch, Asante, Muffin Man. By the way, I've been singing that Muffin Man song all bloody day because of you, by the way, just so you know. I've been walking around the house and at work going, the Muffin Man. Yeah, all day.
I love it. That's crazy.
Because of it. But anyways, guys, we got a hell of a show. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get right into the show tonight.
All right. And Kay Asante, welcome back, brother. You and I were on the phone quite a bit today. You were on the emergency breaking news podcast. Yeah. I think I'm going to have to reach out to a few people to get that breaking news.
That's
because
right.
it's always breaking
scrolls
news
on the screen. We interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you.
Oh my God! I wish I had that power. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind interrupting people daily with some breaking news. Great stuff. Kay Asante, brother, welcome, man. We have a lot to get into. A lot of great conversation behind the scene that we had. Can't wait for you to spin that and give us your opinion on the deal.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me here. You know, those who are avid followers of the channel, this is my second time on Boom's air this fine day, as you know, as the situation warrants. You know, I'm pleased to be here as usual, representing my midweek mix-up shirt. Thank you, sir. Yes,
snap.
That's right.
I love it.
And I am actually quite pleased to have the Muffin Man here because after his ILP showcase, he got a subscriber, namely me. I appreciate your stuff. Very cool. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, man.
Yes. Oh yeah. Real good, real insightful stuff. So ever since I saw, I was like, oh yeah, I need to subscribe to this man, and I've done so since. So
yeah,
I'm just happy to be here
to
talk about all this. Man, this is just going to keep happening, isn't it? It's just going to keep happening, and I'm here for it. Let's do this.
It's a good deal. Speaking of t-shirts, I got the trophy room shirt.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Pride Month. There you go, Joe. If you're listening, brother, I did it for you. Actually, Mrs. Boom bought one as well for her and a good friend of ours.
Cool.
So we're supporting the cause. Absolutely.
That's right.
Last and not well, at least he's no way least, but Everborn Saga. You know, you are ready to talk, and you know, not being slanderous, but asking some serious questions in the DM. I can't wait to get into what you had to say regarding this deal. Good for good for Bungie, bad for Sony, or vice versa. You know, it's going to be an interesting conversation, brother. But welcome.
I just have one question.
What's that?
How much is too much?
Well, that is a question that we're going to be asking.
Too much? Much too much.
It might be much too much. I think it's certainly the latter. But we're going to get into that. So listen, I'm going to start with our guest first. And Kev, we're going to go to you. You know, this is a monumental deal. One of which, in hindsight, not really surprising considering the relationship Bungie has had with Sony. We know that they spent a lot of money to basically lock up content behind the PlayStation brand. I mean, there were several, people that I knew that weren't hardcore that actually at some point thought that Destiny was exclusive to PlayStation because of how it was marketed. One of the things that came out immediately with the announcement deal is how this was going to stay multi-plat, which I thought was a little shocking, and I guess kind of they wanted to calm the waters because the game has a monster fan base. What are your thoughts on this? Is this a good deal for both companies involved at the near $4 billion investment?
I think that will be decided in the future. If we were going off today, I wouldn't say this is a good deal for PlayStation. I'm not sure where they're getting the nearly $4 billion valuation of Bungie. I know Destiny is big, but is it $4 billion big? Not as far as I know. I think it's a great deal for Bungie. If you read the contract, Hogue Law, I watched his video on it, always breaking down these legal things. He went over and it's basically unheard of to get the deal that Bungie is getting out of this, right? Where they basically get to keep independence, creatively, studio. They get a board of directors still. They're basically just taking PlayStation's money, sitting next to all the PlayStation studios and being like, yeah, we're one big family, except you can't tell us what to do. We're going to sit over
Wink.
here. We're going to send our games wherever we want. You're going to get some money from that. But in the end, like, nobody's really going to consider them a PlayStation studio, right? Like, they're not going to make exclusive content as far as they've said. So I really don't know what PlayStation's getting out of this besides saying, hey, we have Bungie.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a fantastic point. You know what? You mentioned
You get people to stop selling off their stock, though. So,
well,
that
look,
does help.
you know what? You brought up some numbers.
Mhm.
And I want to bring those numbers up. It's relevant to the conversation. Now, on January 18th, when it was announced that Microsoft was acquiring Activision Blizzard,
Yep.
Jeff Keighley, who we all know, who is the executive producer at the Game Awards, he tweeted something that was pretty interesting. Now, again, folks, this is January 18th, and since the Activision Blizzard announcement, most of these numbers have gone up, right? So I don't have the up-to-date numbers. I'm going to read you just for context so you understand what $3.8 billion and potentially just a pinch more or a pinch less could have gotten Sony.
And boom, I have those numbers. So when you say it, I'll tell you what the current.
Okay, so
market value is.
Sega.
Sega right now is $3.828 billion.
All right, so they went up too. Capcom.
Capcom is $5.182 billion.
Okay, Square Enix.
$5.953 billion.
How about Konami?
Konami, I do have Ubisoft and Take-Two though.
Okay, I have Konami here at $6 billion, right? Which is pretty surprising considering that they just do pachinko machines and exercise equipment, gambling stuff. Yeah, that's true. Ubisoft,
$7.01 billion.
Okay, I have Netmarble, who I don't know who they are, $7 billion. I have Embracer Group here, which I believe has gone up past 11, but the old number here is $10.8 billion. Bandai Namco, I have here at $15 billion. I have Nexon at $15 billion, and I have Take-Two at 18. Have they gone up?
Take-Two is $18.85 billion, so almost $19 billion.
Almost $19 billion.
One thing to consider, though, before we get into this conversation about those numbers, you have to pay a premium on top of the market value, right?
Indeed, that is absolutely correct.
Activision stock was at something like $68 or something. Maybe it was a little bit more, but they offered $95 a share. Yeah. So you have to add that consideration to it. So maybe like 150% you're going to pay for it in this market, maybe a little bit more. So just add that multiple to whatever you say. And to your point, Muffin Man, no one gets a deal like this unless they are negotiating with someone who is negotiating from a position of weakness.
Interesting.
So when you are negotiating from a position of weakness, there are certain concessions you make to get the deal done, meaning you overpay, meaning you make certain promises to the person you're trying to get the deal done with. And that's what that sounded like to me. This deal had to get done, so the pot gets sweetened, and we make sure we notice we note these things as part of the deal. But go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, from my perspective, again, I think Sony at the current moment is getting very little out of this deal.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan talks about how he wants PlayStation to invest in live service titles.
Yes.
So they're getting that infrastructure, the know-how that Bungie brings with Destiny being the biggest live service game that we currently have on consoles and across PC. But look at what Bungie's getting. Like I said, independence. They get to expand the Destiny and further IPs into different multimedia platforms. I think that is a huge thing that's being overlooked here. Not only do they get overpaid for, but Bungie actually gets, hey, that movie we wanted to make about Destiny, well, we got Sony now, and they're going to help us make it.
And I think that
could be Sony's Star Wars in the movie realm.
It could very well be. I mean, look, I think that they're, again, this is, you can call it coincidence. You can call, because listen, the article that I pulled from GameIndustry.biz has revealed that this deal has been in the works for at least 5 months. So this I was talking with Mr. Babbitt, who of course is the voice of the trophy room, and he assured me, because he does have a lot of friends in the business, that this is not the counterpunch to Activision Blizzard, because this was already admitted in the article that this deal has been in the works for 4 to 5 months.
Yep.
What's interesting is what the Muffin Man said. He's and I agree with him. Nobody gets a deal like this, and it's pretty incredible that they received $3.8 billion with a B, and still they're not considered. I mean, they're first party, but are they? That's the real question. It's pretty interesting. But Jim Ryan has a few things to say, and I want to read a couple of those excerpts from this article. And he says this: Sony have been so gracious over the last day. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Let me see, where is Jim Ryan's? I've been on record talking about increasing the size of the PlayStation community and expanding beyond our historic console heartland. This can take many forms, and definitely one of the main ones is the ability for the wonderful games that we have been making over the past 25 years to be enjoyed in different places and played in different ways. We are starting to go multi-platform. You've seen that. We have an aggressive roadmap with live services and the opportunity to work with and particularly learn from the brilliant and talented people at Bungie. That is going to be considerably accelerated to accelerate the journey we find ourselves currently on. Look, I mean, what could you say? It is a deal. I mean, I be honest with you. I heard this. And I immediately thought, well, Bungie is currently working on a new IP. That is confirmed. That is not a surprise. If you think that is not going to be Sony exclusive, you are unbelievably mistaken. Sony did not pay $3.8 billion to let everyone drink from the cow. It's just, I don't know if we go back to Destiny exclusives. I would imagine potentially like they were during the whole Destiny 1 thing, where Xbox gamers paid the same price and were only, they missed out on raids, they missed out on guns, they missed out on gear. And even years later, if you were an Xbox guy or gal, you didn't get those. So I don't know what happens, but you would imagine that there's going to be there's got to be something more to this deal that they're just not talking about. I'm going to be honest with you. When I heard this deal, I said, well, at least they have a studio that can make a good Killzone. Because, listen, say what you want about Destiny. It's the best first-person shooter in gaming, hands down. But let me just pause for a second and introduce Mr. Real Nonstop, all the way from Puerto Rico. My brother, how the heck are you, man? I'm glad you got your power on. I would have been devastated if you couldn't be here tonight. Listen, I want to go to you next, brother. What are your thoughts on this deal?
Well, it's like you were saying, you don't waste $3.8 billion just for Destiny, and especially if Destiny's going to stay multi-platform. So I do believe that the MMO that they've been rumoring that's going to be coming, it has to be PlayStation, and probably, like Jim Ryan said, he wants to expand more than just console. It'll probably be an MMO for PC and console. Console being the PS5 and the PS4, because we know that the PS4 is still being used in a certain degree.
Well, it's interesting. And again, it's not really a part of the topics, but you did bring up a great point. We know that because PlayStation themselves are having so much trouble getting 5 out the door and into the hands of gamers around the world, they have doubled down on releasing PlayStation 4s, which is I don't know if that's their answer to the Series S. It certainly might be, but this is one of those deals that make you wonder whether or not, because Xbox Game Pass has become so dominant and such a force in the conversation, and then you factor in, listen, you could forget what they did in 2018, forget what they did last year by finally signing that, getting the paperwork signed to bring in all the best RPGs in the world. They announced the Activision Blizzard deal, and I think it shook the core of Sony, to be honest with you. And I think that whatever the rumored PlayStation Greatness Pass that is supposed to be rivaling the Xbox Game Pass, I think that's going to change. And I think that this deal, the Bungie deal, is probably going to be at the forefront of that. With everything else that they do, it's going to be very interesting. Anything else you'd like to add there, Mr. Real Nonstop? Well, I mean, like I mean, considering that we're not even out of January yet, are you surprised by the unbelievable, ridiculous news that we've gotten so far?
This is what we were expecting. When Nadia Sadella said that we were all in, this is what we were expecting. Microsoft saying we are in this to win.
Yep.
Light a fuse under Sony, which is something that we've been waiting for since 2013. So I like what we're seeing. I'm not that sure if this, just like the Wandering Dutch was talking about a little while ago, I don't know if it's going to benefit Sony that much. It'll probably benefit the gamers, and it's definitely going to benefit Bungie. But I'm not that sure. Is there another deal on the way? Who knows? It's like somebody was saying a little while ago. This deal has been a while. You don't do a deal in a week. It's impossible to be like, yo, we got to counterattack Microsoft. This has been in the works for quite a while. Is it going to help Sony per se to sell more consoles? They already sold all they have. Is it going to help them enter the live service, which is something that they've literally never had because they're always single player, third person cinematic experiences? I think that Bungie can help them in that regard of finally giving them that multiplayer game that the fans have always been wanting to.
That's a great point. That's a great point, dude. Fantastic point, because you're absolutely correct there, Mr. Nonstop. One of the things that many gamers have been asking Sony to deliver, and what they've delivered in the past, which is, again, I mean, Resistance Fall of Man, I believe, had multiplayer. We also had SOCOM, which is a very, very huge IP for Sony. I mean, how come that doesn't exist in 2022 is beyond me. Maybe that's an announcement we get at the whatever E3 looks like this year. That some people have been saying that's going to come back in a big way. That's a great point. Wandering Dutch, I got to get you in here, brother, because we've been talking behind the scenes. You bring up some incredible points. And I gotta get it. I gotta let you break it down, because you know what? It's what you're putting down. I'm certainly buying. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. At first, when I first seen it, naturally, I thought this was a brilliant acquisition for Sony. They are and still are severely lacking their own first-person shooter. I've said this for months, and I've said this specifically that they needed to either reinvigorate or recapture the SOCOM vibes that originally released, or bring back Resistance and redo it in a big way. They needed to fill that gap for FPS on the platform from a first-party perspective. And the acquisition of Bungie, on initial glance, would have been brilliant. A first-party studio now creating a first-party, first-person shooter for the platform that fills a gap that they are sorely missing. That was my first reaction. And that's when we start seeing the details of this deal. And that's when the lines become muddied and don't make much sense. from a business perspective. Now, a lot of people will say, well, yeah, but then Sony get the residual payments. But that's, in the grand scheme of things, a residual payment of the best part of maybe a couple of £100 million per year in the grand scheme of things, in the financial aspect, once you've paid taxes on those earnings, is very little. That's not much. Like, when you're thinking like Game Pass in itself generates that much in a month, not a year, then the proposition becomes different entirely. And then I got thinking about the deal specifics and what this brings to Sony itself. Much like Kevin said before, and RJ, this now looks like Bungie's essentially just robbing a living here. they've just been given £3.8 billion, and nothing changes for them. Nothing changes. They are still doing exactly as they plan, and they've now got £3.8 billion worth of backing. For Sony, apparently, according to them, also nothing's changing. They're just working alongside them to help them with games as a service games. We seen a similar deal last year. Neverborn, if he was here, obviously he's nipped away for the second, but if he was here, would love this comparison. But Microsoft have a partnership agreed with a specific company with regards advancements in gaming and technology, and that is the Sega partnership. The difference is, this partnership did not cost them £3.8 billion for the privilege. It also doesn't state anywhere in that particular partnership anything to do with specific exclusive IPs. It says they're going to help create this big open world together and explore opportunities. But it doesn't say anything about this is going to be a multi-platform or an exclusive game. It's because the actual deal itself was more about working together to further and enhance the technology aspects behind all of this and explore opportunities within the development process of games going forward for larger scale games, much larger scale games, metaverses, etc. And we've seen that through the next acquisition in Activision and Bethesda, etc. Sorry, Activision and Blizzard. The metaverse was mentioned significantly there. It was
a couple times, as a matter of fact.
Significantly in the Sega partnership. When you have a look at this particular deal from Sony, this is like the Sega partnership, except they've acquired the studio. They've purchased the partnership, which is beyond belief. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And yes, it's great for gamers, but it serves no benefit to Sony as a platform. Like, there is no benefit to the company as a platform. From a financial aspect, it's $3.8 billion they've given to this particular company. That's going to be great for Bungie. That's going to give them financial support. It's going to give them a nice sound footing.
Yes.
But for Sony, other than residual payments, like, what does this do? You could have done what they've set out to do in a partnership without spending $3.8 billion.
It's interesting. Yeah.
So it to me, that bit just doesn't line up. I would have expected, and I still expect, at some point in time, because these details don't make sense, and I think even Hogue Law couldn't quite get a grasp of it, and he was reading it. He was like, "This doesn't make sense. Like, why would they do this?"
Yeah, I only got a chance to check out a part of it. I know that Kevin said it was pretty interesting. I'm going to listen to it after the show. I'm actually going to try and see if I can get him to come on the show on Friday. I want to get his take on it, because there's my brother in the chat, Neo Mental, says he's hearing that the deal has been worked on for months, and we clarified that. But he believes that there's a larger plan at play here.
Oh, it has to be.
And it literally, I agree with you, Wandering Dutch, whether it is eventually, will Destiny
the thing that they keep, in the agreement that I keep saying, and again, this is what we've spoke about in the loose terminology that Phil has to use, because obviously the Activision deal isn't dotted line and T's and I's. None of that's been done yet. It will be soon. But because of the ambiguity there, and we've learned how wording goes, as well as I've spoken again unfortunately been at PLCs that have collapsed, and spoken to CEOs even close, even speaking one-on-one with the CEO when nobody else is there and asking him the definitive questions. Is this company going to collapse? Blah, blah, blah. And straight to the face. No, we're perfectly fine. It's not going anywhere. Nothing's happening, blah, etc., etc., etc. 2 months later, down the pan. So CEOs, what you read on there will say something to make sure that you're happy in order to get you to continue to be happy. They're not going to do something to, like I would love to swear here, they're not going to be doing something to wind you up, should we say, and wind the fan base up just for the sake of doing so. They're not going to, if something's going to happen, it will happen in the future. It's not going to happen now. They're not going to say, right this second, Bungie is going completely first party, like it's completely cutting off from everything, because that's just going to wind people up. That's not going to do them any good, and it's not going to do their share price any good. It's to me, the wording around it, they keep highlighting Destiny, the Destiny universe, Destiny 2, the Destiny universe, the Destiny universe, Destiny. And when they mention what about other future IPs, they're just like, well, the current Destiny game that is in development, it's still multi-platform.
Dude,
I'm like, Destiny. Right, ignore Destiny. What about your new IPs? Well, they've retained the rights to publish themselves. Yeah, but of course they retain the rights, but so did Bethesda. Bethesda retained the rights to publish. That doesn't mean it's going to be multi-platform. And in this case, Sony can quite easily go to them. Listen, this next game you're making, it's first party.
100%.
That's exclusive. It doesn't. Destiny can stay where it is. That can be multi-platform. It's games as a service. It's got residual revenue. Brilliant. The next game, however, it isn't game as a service. It doesn't require it to be on another platform, because by the time we've got the revenue from a game sale and it comes to us after the 70-30 or 60-40 split, whatever it is, it's not worth the paper it's written on. It's pocket change to a company of its size. So the next game outside of the Destiny universe will 100% be exclusive. There is absolutely no point in purchasing a company for 3.8 billion for a partnership agreement unless you're going to get something out of it, other than just they're going to help us with games as a service. That's not a good enough excuse to spend 3.8 billion pounds. I'm sorry.
It makes you wonder whether or not Destiny 3 is going to be exclusive, because they could say whatever they want about. Remember, Destiny 1 was a 10-year plan, and then Destiny 2 came out anywhere, right? So it is
anything can happen in business.
I would chalk it up as, if you enjoy Destiny 1 and 2 and you have an Xbox, you're probably going to play it there. Destiny 3 or whatever they decide to move in that universe is going to be exclusive. This is too big of a deal to even remotely suggest that Sony, who we know does not play fair, is going to let anything that they own go anywhere that they don't want to. This is a monster deal. And listen, one of the reasons why Sony is in the black, so to speak, it used to be just PlayStation. That's not in fact the case anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
The next couple of weekend sales and digital release of Spider-Man No Way Home is going to move that film past $2 billion. Okay, Sony Pictures is a monster in the industry, and we all know that Pete Parsons, head of Bungie, wants to bring that universe to TV and film. Well, that part of the partnership makes a lot of sense to me, because listen, whether you hate Sony or not, they make great pictures, right? So this is a kind of like a match made in heaven. Mag, I want to grab your opinion on this, because what is interesting to me here is, and what we talked about on the other show. If you missed it, we broke the news live, and we were out there, talking about it for about an hour and 15 minutes. A lot of people are calling this move a bargaining chip. Okay. For keeping Destiny and potentially other Destinies on Xbox, when Microsoft is holding the cards with Call of Duty, Sony's most money maker, hands down. Do you agree with that?
No, not even close. And I'll tell you why.
I don't agree with it either, but continue.
There's not a chance. That is not a bargaining chip when you're trying to, your chip is Destiny, and the other chip is about this big, and it's Call of Duty. There is no competition in terms of engagement, in terms of yearly sales, in terms of anything. It is not even close. So I can't. That's not what you leverage against Call of Duty. I'm sorry. You'd have to leverage something. You'd have to leverage something like Grand Theft Auto, okay, or something of that magnitude in order to, like, people don't understand. A lot of people poo-poo Call of Duty. Call of Duty is the same old thing every year, blah, 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 blah. It's still the number one seller on every single console, every single year, every single NPD, except for 2013, by the way, which, of course, was Grand Theft Auto, okay? But every other year is Call of Duty, all right? Whether it's digital, whether it's physical, it's still that. It is not a bargaining chip. That's not something you can leverage against that. Now, the one thing I would like to point out, though, about this whole situation is, do you guys now see, chat, everybody, panel, everybody listening to this later, do you see what competition creates? Do you see what happens when people get upset that Microsoft does this, that, and the other thing? Because if they didn't do those things, then Sony wouldn't be making any moves at all, and you would be content with playing 4 bangers in 8 years. That is not enough. I mean, PlayStation 4 was possibly one of the greatest generations of all time. Let's face it, right? Some of the best games of all time came out in that. I mean, exclusives anyway, came out during that period for the PlayStation 4. Mind you, it wasn't the entire generation. It was only within a span of about 4 years that all those big games came out. Great, wonderful. But if Microsoft didn't start doing what they were doing, if they didn't buy those ZeniMaxes, if they didn't buy those soon to be hopefully Activision Blizzards, you wouldn't be getting these kind of deals going on, right? This is what competition breeds excellence. And this is something we've always talked about. We've always said. Now, the thing is, this whole deal, we talk about now. What is it now? What do they got? Destiny. This is not about Destiny. It can't be about Destiny.
I absolutely agree.
This is about Destiny. This is about something else that we don't know about. This is about future IPs. This is about a 10-year plan, a 15-year, not a 10-year game, a 10-year plan of multiple IPs, of some kind of God knows what the hell, some kind of a Bungie metaverse that they're creating. Okay, meta is the big word these days, right?
Yeah, I wanted people to stop using that Bungie article as well. That is specifically detailed around Destiny 2, our shared vision, because that's Destiny 2.
I'm literally reading it right now, and
Destiny
in every
FAQ.
Sentence, Destiny 2.
Oh, the FAQ.
Yeah, it's very, very prevalent to the conversation that they're trying to have, where I think that if you don't see Destiny 3 here, because we don't know if there's going to be one, but when there's one, I can assure you that it's going to be exclusive. I don't care what they're saying now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You have to look.
Of the day. Yeah, it's just a Destiny article. Like, that doesn't say anything about the rest of it. There's 1,200 staff at Bungie.
Exactly.
Not 1,200 people are going to continue to work on Destiny going forward. I'm sorry.
Right.
Like,
and then don't forget support studios that work on these games too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at for example, like, it's 1,200 mainline developers, right? Doesn't mean that, like, you know, the support staff is a whole different. Look at Call of Duty. They're talking about the new Call of Duty, by the way, the Modern Warfare 2 that's presumably coming out this year. Okay, they've got like 13 studios working on it.
Yes.
Okay,
ridiculous.
and they're not all part of Activision Blizzard. These guys, this is all just, you know, sort of like sent out like mercenary work, right, to these different little companies. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing textures, you're doing, you know what I mean? So they do all these things. What would stop Bungie or Sony from doing the exact same thing? So that you could split 1,200 into 3 teams of 400 and work on 3 different IPs at once. That's what I could see them doing, with support staff being paid separately on top of all this to
100%.
get these IPs. So there's that. And, you know, there's Muffin Man actually said it a little bit when he was talking earlier. You don't spend $4 billion on Destiny. Okay, so that just like solidifies what I'm trying to say here.
You just
it doesn't
don't
make any sense. The other things that don't make any sense to me is as Boom, you were never born. We're going through the prices of the different companies, right? You're talking about Konami, you're talking about Sega, you're talking about Square Enix and all these companies, and you know, and whatever, somewhere in the same price range. Look at the stable of IPs that those companies create and have created in the past. Okay, compared to what Bungie's done. What does Bungie have to offer right now? I'm not talking about the future. Right now, Halo,
Destiny.
no, Halo does not belong to them anymore.
Correct.
All they have is Destiny. So this doesn't make any sense that it's just Destiny. I mean, you just put 2 and 2 together, you look at it. Sega's got a list this long of IPs that they could utilize and some that they are utilizing, right? Same thing with Konami, same thing with, well, maybe not Konami anymore, but, with Square and everything else. It doesn't make sense that it's just that one title. It doesn't. And so there's got to be more to that. Now, the other thing is, I got a crazy thought. This is my tinfoil hat thought, but I'll save it to the very end here. But I got to get into this quick, and there's something that actually bothers me, but not bothers me. It's great for Sony, great for gamers, great for whatever. I have no issue with it. I have a PS5. I'm a multi-console owner. I play it on right now. I'm playing Uncharted right now. Well, not now, but, these days I'm playing the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, having a great time. And I'm about to play Horizon Forbidden West. However, the reason why I don't get excited as of now for when Sony acquires anybody, because it does not affect me whatsoever in terms of accessibility. So whether it's on Xbox or whether it's on PlayStation, doesn't matter. I got both. What does bother me is that every time that Sony acquires something, it just becomes another $105 game that I got to pay for. That's my problem.
Yeah, it's funny that's a serious conversation, and again, one of the things that we were going to talk about tonight that we don't have room for it because we're not going to do an Iron Lord 6.5 hour podcast is and we're going to bring this back around. We're going to bring this back around to ask the question whether or not because we had a leaked picture of what the 3-tier system was.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the reality is it was garbage. Yeah. Every tier was garbage.
So
yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying, Boom. When Xbox acquires something, don't you get excited because you're like, I don't have to pay for this? I mean, other than your subscription that you're already paying for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so to me, that's way more exciting because my wallet is dancing, not me. And then what the problem is when they go, oh, Sony acquired this, Sony acquired that, I'm not hating on Sony. They got great games. The problem is every time they get an exclusive deal, it's going to cost me $105, which, by the way, is 55% of a yearly subscription to Game Pass for one game.
Quick thought while you were saying this.
Yes, sir.
Could this be, even though we know that the 3-tiered system will not have day and date, could this be how they thread that needle? Hey, now you have Destiny in this 3-tiered system, and all the expansions are free.
Ooh, still not worth it.
It's not enough. It's not enough to
not for
bring you
me.
in.
But hey.
Like, can you imagine? You're right,
Destiny is good at the repeat viewers, the repeat, and then the Witch Queen's coming, and then this is coming, and then that's coming.
Doesn't have the
Maybe
same
you just
impact,
throw that in there.
It would have more of an impact if it meant something. This acquisition, as it stands, means nothing to anybody involved.
Nothing.
Like it's like we've bought them, but nothing's changed. Nothing has changed.
For now, Dutch.
Now, well, exactly. But as it stands, that's how it is.
Has Sony? Look, let's face it. Let's face it, guys. Has Sony ever been really honest?
No.
They are career. They are career. Yeah, they are career criminals. All right, we know this.
Do you not believe in generations, Mag?
Okay, yeah, they are career criminals. So the thing is, when they Boom, you know what career criminals is all about. You should go arrest them.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. I used to find the same ones, and you would say the same thing, like, man, you didn't learn from the last time. I figured I'd try my luck
when you
again.
Throw them in the clink for the 10th time, right? The thing is, they are career criminals. Let's face it, okay? And so the thing is, at the end of the day, is that I don't believe anything that they said. Well, what they said about what the little press release there about this all going multi-platform, I think that's what's already there now. Anything beyond that, you're gonna have to get the PS5, which is fine. I mean, if that's the way it goes, that's the way it goes. Absolutely. I'm not a huge Destiny guy. I'm interested to see what IPs they're going to be working on later. Now, my last thing before I pass up the mic, here's my tinfoil thought for the day, folks. Okay,
let's go.
Here it is. Listen to this. What if? Is it possible that Sony and Microsoft are actually working together behind the scenes to preserve and prevent all these developers and all their IPs from getting into the grubby hands of the Chinese government, aka Tencent?
You know what it is? I've just said something similar in chat.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? I didn't see the chat. My chat is beyond my mic. I didn't see it. What if they're working together quietly to keep them out of the hands of Tencent because you don't want it going to the Chinese government. All right, they already got enough going on over there. Or Apple, or Google. Right, I would say Apple is the bigger threat than Google or Amazon, because they seem to be doing like this little streaming stuff, and Amazon's got that game. I heard it's really good, actually. That online game,
New World.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, and so like, but that's not enough to take people away from like a console, you know. But the thing is, it's Apple you have to worry about too. So maybe they're talking and saying, listen, guys, let's preserve these games and these IPs, because you know Phil's all about the preservation of games or whatever, and now he's the big guy. Okay, so now that he's the big guy, he can call the shots, even to Sony, and say, listen, we're doing this. Are you on board? We're going to start acquiring these things so that we keep them out of the hands of these companies that may destroy these games in the future. And, of course, consolidating a lot of these developers and letting half of them go. Right? And so you're going to be destroying jobs. You're going to be, causing chaos in the industry. Whereas now you can bring these people under these umbrellas, take care of them, have them create more products. And obviously, you know what? Let's face it. At the end of the day, they're there to make money. But I think at the same time, I think that they're doing this also. I mean, it's not for goodwill. They're doing it for money. But I think they're also doing it to keep
like
them out of the
everyone
hand.
says, it's not show friendship, it's show business, right?
Exactly. So, like, I'm thinking, is it possible that is maybe in a very loose way, maybe that's something that they're trying to do?
I don't think it's that far-fetched, because Phil Spencer recently came out and said after the Activision Blizzard deal, he's like, we know what Sony's going to do. We know what Nintendo's going to do. We trust them not to hurt this space. We don't know what these other, Google, Amazon, and I would throw Tencent in there. Tencent is probably the closest party to coming in. They're buying stuff up left and right. They bought like a studio every 3 days or something last year. It's a ridiculous stat. So I don't think Phil's being that quiet about, like, he's concerned about these outside forces coming in, buying up all these studios and changing the landscape for the worse. I don't think he's calling up Jim and it's like, yo, you buy Bungie, I'll buy, like, I don't think that's happening. I think that
it's not like a game
illegal.
sharing. It's
I think that might be
illegal. I'll buy God of War. Like, it's not like that, but like,
But no, I think there's definitely. I mean, how could it not be in the collective mind of CEOs? What other CEOs trying to get into the space might do that could do irreversible damage to gaming, your brand, everyone else's brand. So, like, try to maintain the status quo by, improving what you have, so they are just deterred from even getting in. Like, Amazon's not going to look, well, we can't really spend 80 billion to buy one company and then try to start up our own gaming right now.
Right.
We're just going to stick to streaming.
Yeah.
By the way,
Plus,
Dutch,
something
I just saw your thing in the chat.
You want to say something, Mr. Real Nonstop?
Yeah, plus Tencent has stock in literally all the big companies. They got in Remedy, they got in Epic, they got in Ubisoft. So what is stopping them from making even more money off of that? Yeah, they also have something in Bungie, which is really incredible, because Destiny 2, after they left Activision, Tencent was the one that was funding them.
Indeed. Yes, that's correct. As a matter of fact, they had invested in Bungie to make that new IP, which I believe Sony
the
in this
MMO
deal paid for. Yeah, so
Tencent have got investments, part shared, half owned, part owned, in around about 900 companies so far.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
it's significant.
Yeah. Listen, let's bring Kay Asante into the conversation. But Kay Asante, before I do, I have to catch up with some of these incredible super chats. Thank you for dropping them in the chat. First one of the night comes to us from our good friend Darren Hill. Drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, and this is interesting and funny. He says, Xbox, congratulations, Sony. Sony, you better honor those agreements. Pulls gun.
True story.
It's a true story. It actually happened. Michael Kullick drops a very generous, and he drops quite a few super chats. The first one, he says this to $5. Who else thinks Sony may have overpaid for Bungie? I think everybody on this panel might agree with that. The possible reason why is it's rumored that Microsoft didn't proceed with acquiring them. I mean, it's certainly possible, but I don't think Microsoft needs Bungie.
The CEO shot that down immediately.
He did.
Yeah.
We also have Michael Culloch drops a $5 super chat and says this. Also, strange that future IPs, according to Bungie and Sony, will be multi-plat. Why spend $4 billion for that? Indeed, and he drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, Michael. Definitely better than Tencent. Gotta keep Western studios away from CCP money, and I think that's what
absolutely right.
Must be happening here. To be completely honest, Yosemite Bland, hey, what's up, brother? Long time, no time. Hopefully you're doing well. He drops a $2 super chat and says, collusion is illegal, y'all.
It's illegal if it's on a recorded line.
Yeah, it's very true. I like that. Te Asante, listen, before we bring this back around to what Jim Ryan had to say, and we break down what they've spent now with this deal, where do you fall on whether or not this? Because I think Wandering Dutch really does hit the nail on the head. This deal, and again, we're only small podcasters. We don't have Jeff Grubb ears to the floor. We can only look at what has been presented. Right? We've been presented this, and from the outside, from the surface level of this deal, it looks like Sony did not get got the short end of the stick here, and Bungie is now doing Mr. McDuck, and he's kind of swimming in the money. Pete Parsons is swimming in the money in the bank right now.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this deal after what you're hearing everyone say?
Yeah, no, I've heard some interesting points, and by and large, I agree with mostly everybody's points. I will come at this from a different perspective, though, that I have not heard folks talking about. A lot of people, anytime exclusivity conversations come up, people go, well, Microsoft could go the Mojang route with Minecraft. This is very much from the words that have been spoken, right? It's very much sounding like a Mojang type deal that PlayStation entered into. We will acquire you, but you have complete autonomy to do whatever the hell you want, right? I agree that everything that we hear them talking about is doublespeak. Every piece of the puzzle they speak on is specifically Destiny 2, which tells you that Destiny 2 is the only thing that all of this matters with, right? When they breach off and they do something else, that may no longer be a factor in the equation. But it does seem like they're trying to build Destiny 2 into a platform. Get your cups ready and start taking the sip. A metaverse of its own, as you will. You know what I'm saying? Take that sip.
Take it. Hold on. Let me get in on the conversation. Hold on.
Anytime anybody says it, you got to take the sip. Yes. So I can see a world where Destiny 2, which should have just been Destiny, Activision forced them to release the new one.
Yes.
I can see a world where that lives on, much like how Warzone will live on, right? But that doesn't mean that if they make something new, that all of a sudden that will be multi-plat as well. Although, see, that's why I think this whole thing, after you break it down and you read all the information that's come out, it's very interesting, because much like the Activision Blizzard deal, nothing you hear is solid until that ink is completely dry.
Correct.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because there's two ways of looking at this, right? These guys were the guys that firsthand felt the sting of evil Microsoft. They felt the sting of evil Microsoft. Yeah. So the idea that they were going to get rebought by Microsoft, to me, was like, get the hell out of here. That's just never gonna happen. Even though you see, you see your ex-girl, like, with a new dude, and she seems logical now. You still go, yo, that chick's crazy. You know what I'm saying? That's
great. What a great analogy.
You know what I mean? You see it. She's logical now. She has kids. She's doing proper things, but you go, I remember when that chick almost tried to throw my shit off the roof. Exactly. It's never gonna
until you speak to the
bloke. And
you
make one of those Ray J songs.
You know what I'm saying? So even if Xbox, or even if Microsoft was in the running to get this, I'm sure Parsons came out with it and went $100 billion, and you just went, get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? You've been screwed by McDonald's. What do? You go to Burger King. It is what it is. I expected that, right? As far as them overpaying, hell yeah, they overpaid. But at this point, PlayStation need multiple things. They need to change the conversation, which they're successfully doing now. Yes. They need people to know that they're in it for that multiplayer monthly engagement thing, which this kind of solves a little bit. They need some expertise, which they now have. They've been screaming for the Halo killer. Now they have the
I
Halo
was just
maker.
gonna say that they have an answer,
You know?
to Halo.
Yes, so they're filling a lot of gaps with this, right? And it could very well be that because this is Bungie. They are unique in all companies in that they have been able to shake from two evil companies of its time. They shook from Microsoft. They shook from Activision.
So I'm sure the third time's the charm.
Well, no. Listen, you would think that a company that's expert at shaking the spot will make a deal that is solely beneficial for them. You want us? Sure, but we get to be for the streets. We get to be everywhere we want to be. Exactly. So in that world, if they say screw it, are still just going to be multiplied across the board, I can see it happening. Right? Yeah. I can see it happening because they have been caught behind the 8 ball one too many times, and we've seen it in full color when that happens, right? But again, if you look at the fact sheet, everything is Destiny 2, and we know Destiny 2 is not going to be around forever, right?
No.
Now, as far as what PlayStation gets in the deal, PlayStation gets to change the narrative a bit. PlayStation, they overpaid. That's true, but you won't know, as Kevin said very smartly, you don't know if this is going to be a good deal yet. Right? When Mojang was bought for astronomical dollars and no exclusivity, people were like, these dudes is crazy. Yeah. Now you're like, yo, they were pretty smart in that, right? I suspect that is what PlayStation is hoping will happen here. Will it happen? We shall see, right? But I don't think it's absolutely ridiculous that they did this. Well, okay, if you compare it to the other potentials they could have gotten, and of course, there are those out there who have more knowledge than we do in these spaces who are saying that this is only the beginning and that there are other bigger things coming, which, hey, we will see, but if you compare it to the potential for Square, the potential for some other company, you would have thought, hey, why would they not have done that, right? On a side note, me and you, Boom, were having a similar conversation about Microsoft. This is a big deal. This is a great deal. But if you think about it, had they not done this deal with Activision Blizzard, they could have bought WB. And I'm not talking about WB Game Studios. I'm talking about all of WB. They could have owned DC Comics. Batman would have been theirs. Superman would have been theirs. All of DC. They could have owned it all, but they chose to do Activision Blizzard, right? So although I do think it's kind of like a funny kind of situation where definitely Bungie made out like a bandit in this situation, I won't quickly be like, oh, PlayStation just got screwed and laugh them off, because there might be some interesting things happening. We're not sure exactly where they are yet.
Listen, no one spends $4 billion on a game that's going to remain multi-plat without getting anything in the back end. The money on the back end of this isn't that big.
Now, remember that fact sheet says everything is shaping up to 2024. What happens in 2025?
Interesting.
Yeah. I was going to say they can't compare it to Mojang either, because as it stands, Mojang's increased from probably, I think it was about 20 odd to 30 million players to what is now 200 million sales.
See, and this is what I'm saying. They're hoping.
But the thing is, was Destiny ever generating that kind of money, though?
Well, but that's the thing. They're hoping that they turn that spark of people who love it. Because Everborn said this very, very poignantly as well when we were having this conversation. Destiny has a lot of things. What they lack is cinematic storytelling. They are so obtuse. You have to go read wiki pages, all this. What does Sony know how to do well? Tell a damn good story. That's what they do.
I'll give you that. Dad expansion.
Right? So imagine,
I will tell you, but I will not.
You take what Destiny does best, which is the shooter and the moment-to-moment fun, and you combine it with what Sony does best, which is amazing storytelling. Maybe they have their Fortnite that they've been looking for, and then you see Destiny shoot up like a rocket as far as engagement. I'm there. I'll play it. It's all good, right? We can see that world. I don't know that we will, but there's a potential there, So I'm happy they took that shot. When I saw this thing, I was like, this is one of those Goliath stories where the young man picked up a rock and shot him straight in the eye. Will it kill him? Hell no. But it was a good shot, though. Nicely done. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, let's grab Everborn. We don't know how much time you got on the clock here. Everborn, let's get your opinion on this. You had some interesting things to say in the DM as well. Who's the big winner here?
Honestly, I think everybody wins in this deal. I like this deal. Now, I'll tell you why they overpaid, but I think they paid what they needed to pay to get the deal done, because this deal was, I think, a lot more important to Sony than it was to Microsoft or other players in the other piranhas in the waters, right? If you're Microsoft, for one IP plus whatever they have on, coming out, and you have to think of whatever Bungie's next IP is. Sony probably views that like how Microsoft viewed Starfield, right? It's a new IP. It's going to be big. They believe in it. They want to get behind it. Let's make the deal happen. But again, if you are Microsoft and you are in the middle of acquiring Call of Duty and Overwatch 2, and you already have Doom and Wolfenstein and Halo and Gears and, basically more than 2/3 of the top tier shooter market.
Yeah.
Is Destiny worth 3.6 or 3.8 billion to you as Microsoft? I don't think it is. It's not about not affording it. You just look at that and you say, well, for us, we are strong in that area. So
it's small potatoes at this point.
Right. So maybe that's worth 2 point whatever billion to Microsoft, but to Sony, whose future with COD is now uncertain, who has not been investing in their multiplayer IPs, right? Sony now wakes up to a very different world, right? The day after Martin Luther King Day. So now they have to do something. And of course, any deal that gets done, it was not the ink was not signed until it was signed.
Yep.
Right. So a lot of things are fluid. And I think one of the things that were fluid that got the deal done is the price. So we're already in negotiations to buy you. But guess what? Microsoft was in negotiations to buy TikTok and Discord. Right. And people say they were in negotiations to buy WB, but they couldn't work out a price.
You know what? It's funny you talk about that because both Kay Santa and I were talking about that earlier this afternoon, and we've come to the realization that they've been talking to WB for quite some time, and the hurdle that they couldn't get over were the IPs. The IPs didn't come. Microsoft didn't want no part of it.
Right, and so that's the thing. It's not until you come to a meeting of the minds and of the wallets, there's no deal. So I think this deal is done when it was done because they knew that they needed to make a splash in this area because that is the one area where Sony was weak.
Yeah.
Right. And again, they're no longer in a world where they can rely on their market share to ensure that they have third-party content. Because guess what? Just like Microsoft took COD off the board, it would have been nothing for them to take Bungie off the board. So while Microsoft is busy with the 300-ton gorilla that is Activision Blizzard King, now you go and you scoop this up because if not, your outlook is even more bleak. But
indeed,
the more interesting thing about this, and I don't know how much we talked about it or if it's one of the things on the topic, but what Jim Ryan is talking about.
We're gonna.
So I'll save that.
We're gonna back end that.
But now, so the other piece of this is the sort of wording around this deal for Bungie and exclusivity. I absolutely think everything Bungie does that is not Destiny is going to be
100%.
Is going to be exclusive. And
100%.
Destiny, what happens when they make a Destiny 3?
I literally just said that, and I said that's going to be exclusive,
right? And as it should. And again, some people were saying, I even said this earlier when I was thinking about it. This is a bargaining chip, like you say. Hey, you want to keep Destiny? Maybe you want to make sure COD stays here, and then I don't know how much of a bargaining chip that really is.
That's a pebble in the ocean, my friend. That's
right?
a pebble in the ocean.
But again, I do like this deal, and I think Sony did what they had to do, and but the thing to think about here is
that's like saying, Mr. CEO of Microsoft Gaming, we know what your favorite game is. It'd be sad if it's no longer on your console.
Right.
This was a personal attack. Is what
right.
You're saying.
So now the only other thing is that this Bungie was not a publicly traded company, right? And they weren't operating in multiple countries the same way ZeniMax was, who also wasn't publicly traded. So I think, I don't know what if any regulatory reviews they have to go through to make this deal, right? And if someone knows that, like, please, like, let me know. But I still think they're free to make other purchases, because I know there was some talk about maybe this means Sega's safe for now because they got this one, but maybe not. Maybe they can buy this, not even blink, and then move on to something else.
Well, I mean, monetary notwithstanding, they have 5 other purchases under their belt just recently.
We are actually, you know what? Let me first of all, let me catch up on some of the super chats. Been quite a few of them to come in. We have Jay Nichols, friend of the show. He drops a $2 super chat, and that's why I was laughing before on camera. He said the best talent at original Bungie work at 343 Industries.
Whoa!
Shots fired, ladies and gentlemen. Shots fired. Michael Cullick drops an additional $5 super chat and says, would have been nice to have seen Microsoft bring them back. Would have been great story, like Insomniac going to Sony. Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, it would have been great at $2 billion, not at 3.6
billion. Yeah, 100%. Pragmatic Eagle, generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, I just want to see on camera, by the way, all of those. I'll throw my PS in the trash if PS doesn't XYZ actually throw their consoles away. That's it. Carry on. Ain't nobody throwing their PlayStation.
We're talking about the Beyond consoles, right?
Yes.
That's gonna good. Because
Pixel Bit G, good friend of the show, he drops a $2 super chat and says, Bungie, the Donnie Sanders of gaming.
Wow.
Must be the money. Oh my God, you're too much, Pixel. We also have Michael Kullick. Wow, Mike, thank you so much. He drops an additional $5 super chat and says, hold up though, Bungie had great chops telling a cinematic story. Halo, anyone? Yeah, I mean,
Joseph Staten, anyone?
Yeah, Joseph is back.
Where is he exactly?
He's running the whole program. We have Anon drops a very generous $10 super chat. Well, thank you for that. Investment firms such as Vanguard and BlackRock own each other, but also own a majority shares in Microsoft, Sony, Apple, Google, Amazon, etc. Competition is very real. Competition is a very real illusion when under the same shareholders. I mean, that's very interesting.
Some WWF stuff right there.
Yeah, indeed it is. I'm waiting for NWO to come out and beat up everybody and take over the place. Sith Lord drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Here's my $2 late fee. Great show as always. You're very welcome, brother, and thank you for the generosity." Jay Nichols drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Sony will be a third-party developer. I think King David has been beating that drum for a bit. And we have GHA drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, hi, gents. Great show, as always. The move was defensive from Sony, as they couldn't risk Microsoft getting them in the future. And a must get for FPS on PlayStation. I mean, that's a great point, and I think that is something that they are incredibly lacking. Brett Bingham drops a $5 super chat and says we should make a mock draft for acquisitions like they do in the NFL draft. Yeah. That is hilarious.
Okay, no, you got to drop one last one because that one is look at that one definitely.
Let's see. Brett Bingham drops a
Eric B.
B.
I don't see it. Let me see.
I'll put it in the DM.
No, I got it.
And that's because that man did something astronomical. There you go.
What a guy.
Well, Eric B drops.
Ask him where Rakim is.
I was about to say the same thing.
Well, this is why he can afford to do this, because I am extremely humbled by this. This is incredible. He drops a $50 super chat and says, boom, congratulations on the 10K. Love what you bring to this community. Well, Eric B, thank you so much for the very kind words, but the extreme generosity, brother. That is really incredible. And I definitely unbelievably appreciate it. Of course, all super chats are appreciated, because what Mrs. Boom and I do is we get them. We put them away. And last year, I think we did about almost $3,000 worth of giveaways. We did 1,000 for Christmas, and we're going to continue that in 2022. It's just our way, of course, of giving back to the community. But I have to read what Jim Ryan said, and I want to get everyone's opinion on this because Kay Asante, you said something very interesting that I brought up in our private conversation, and we're going to talk about that. People seem to forget that with this near $4 billion deal, Sony also purchased 5 studios last year. At some point, money I'm not saying they don't have money. They're not poor. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm saying that this is a great deal for Sony. I'm excited for the fan base on this Bungie deal. But remember, they bought 5 studios last year. So we're going to get into what Jim Ryan has to say. And I know I'm starting to see the things falling. They're going to buy Take-Two. They're going to buy EA. No, they are not. But this is what Jim Ryan had to say, CEO of obviously Sony Interactive Entertainment. And he tells GameIndustry.biz this, we should absolutely expect more PlayStation acquisitions. And he continues, we are by no means done with PlayStation. We have a long way to go elsewhere in the organization, and we have many more moves to make. Well, that's coming directly from Jim Ryan, obviously the head.
He's never lied before.
Jim Ryan never lies. No, he's not called. He's not called.
Guy. He doesn't lie.
He's too busy dancing.
Jim Ryan is a nice man.
He is a nice man, and he's also a very good businessman because obviously what he did in Europe is nothing to be taken away. Kev, I'm going to go to you, then I'm going to go, of course, to Mr. Real Nonstop because you guys are our special guests, and then I'll bring everybody else in. Kev, this is what Jim Ryan said is expected. It's not a big surprise here. And by the way, 610 people here in the chat. Please, if you're new, consider subscribing.
One thing I want to quote Slow-Mo or something he just said on Twitter.
Okay,
he said, "I've never seen so many Destiny fans in my life."
Isn't that funny? Yeah,
funny how that works.
It is funny how that works. But Kev, obviously, the main crux of the conversation is the purchase. The purchase is near $4 billion. To suggest that they're not going to acquire anyone else would be foolhardy. They're going to acquire someone else. I personally don't think that it's an EA. I don't think it's a Take-Two. I just don't see that kind of purchase coming out from this purchase and buying 5 studios last year. What are your takes on what Jim Ryan had to say?
So I want to preface this by saying I own all the consoles, so this isn't a fanboy, take, because whenever we start talking about acquisitions, people accuse people of that stuff. But I am sick of this narrative that PlayStation only grows the studios organically, that they don't buy and I am so sick and tired of hearing people complain about Xbox buying their way to success because PlayStation doesn't do that. Even though PlayStation has now bought 6 studios in the last year, and yes,
12 months. Yeah,
the 5 they bought last year, Nixxes and Fire Sprite, nobody studios that people haven't really heard of. No disrespect there, but we haven't heard of them. And then
they're Sony support studios.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
That's what they
exactly. Are. And then the studios that they did buy, Housemarque, those are ones they did work with. Okay, that's fine. But then they come out with Bungie, and Jim Ryan himself in that game industry, he's like, I know we have a reputation for growing our studios, and he's like, and this kind of goes against that. He's like, but we're gonna keep buying some more. Or I'm paraphrasing, but I don't think that it should come to a shock that we see more acquisitions even this year, because I don't think Microsoft can buy anyone else until the Activision Blizzard deal because of the astronomical figure they're paying.
Yes,
it's up in the air.
I think they could. They don't want to chance it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's too much risk in trying to get this deal done.
They wouldn't look at another publisher this year, but don't
maybe
rule out the studio.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. But Sony, I think, this is only $3.6 billion, which is huge. It's more money than any of us will ever see in our entire lifetimes. So
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
I was about to say, speak for yourself, man. Come on,
yeah.
now. I have
You guys
hope.
doing a little better than I. Okay, all right.
I'm one Everborn deal away, man. Trying to get that Disney money.
But no, I think they can buy more studios, and I think they will buy more studios this year. Do I expect them to be a 3.6 billion acquisition? I don't. I think they'll go back and probably buy up more studios like they were last year, more studios to get, games on PC, more studios they've been working with a little longer. I think they'll go back to that model for a while, but I would be surprised if this was the last publisher we see them purchase. Maybe once this deal closes, then we see them go in for someone like Square Enix, which is rumored very heavily that they have a long-standing relationship. Maybe they go for that one. I don't care either way if that's what they want to do. I think people need to get used to the industry consolidating, because you can have your feelings on consolidation. You can think it's good or bad or either which way. It's happening. I think we all need to accept the fact that the studios are going to consolidate, however, wherever they go, and just accept it and move on. If you want to play the games, just buy the consoles. And they're going to be on PC. There's more ways than ever to play these games. So I really don't think it's that big of a deal, but 100%, they're going to buy studios. And I don't think this is the last big Twitter announcement we see this year, next year, the year after that.
That's a great point. Let's bring.
As long as it's not Sega.
As long as it's not Sega,
Yeah,
because
that's Xboxes.
I have a whole plan for Sega coming back and Jet Set Radio and everything else. No one buy Sega, please. I'm with Everborn on this, but Mr. Real Nonstop, let's get your opinion on this. Jim Ryan has put it down. He's doing what the head of PlayStation should do. Where do you think they go from here?
Well, I'm a little bit with a couple of people in this chat right here. I think that it's not like the last buy, but I do feel that whatever they buy next, it'll probably be a small studio. There's a studio that I was reading. There was a studio that helped port Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that it could probably be that, like another Nixus, another company that can help them port their games to PC and make things easier for them. I was joking around a little while ago with the shirt of Resident Evil. I do not believe it's Capcom. I heavily don't think it's Capcom. If it's Square Enix, it's possible. Square Enix is starting to sell their games for $70, so they're already starting to get the hang of it. But I really don't see, if it's Square Enix or any company like that, I don't see that happening, at least for a year or two. Sony doesn't got that big money like Microsoft has. Microsoft is a 2.1 trillion company. So whatever Sony brings next, I see it as a small AA company or a company that will help them port more games to PC, which is something that Jim Ryan did say when he said he wanted to go beyond consoles.
Yeah, you're right. And listen, when he says beyond consoles in that interview, and that's a great point. We know that PC is going to be is a thing. It's a thing right now. We're seeing all of their games come over. They're selling quite well. God of War sold extremely well on the on the PC.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever brought Spider-Man to the PC, it's going to do gangbuster numbers.
When?
Sorry. Well, yeah,
Sorry.
we're not there. Pretty much.
It will come a day. It will come a day.
No, 100%, and I agree.
A day and date.
That's that's the question. That's the question that we're going to get into. I want to go to first. I want to go to Mag, because just in case we got to leave him on the back end. Mag, look, I said this to our two guests, but I want to take it a bit further. Considering the seismic shift that the industry has taken since the Activision Blizzard announcement, landscapes were changed. Anyone that says otherwise, you're not really gauging the big picture. Microsoft is buying Activision Blizzard. That is ridiculous to even say out loud, but it's actually happening. When Jim Ryan says this, after buying 5 studios last year and dropping near $4 billion on Bungie in 2022, how much more do you think they continue to drop?
That is a tough question. And, the reason why it's a tough question is because I believe it was on this very show last week. We discussed how they were $18.3 billion in the hole. How much more can they get? How much more are they going to are they going to be able to scrape up to be able to do this? I don't know. Are they going to be siphoning money from the Sony Pictures department? Are they moving money
good
around?
Question.
Like,
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like, they've got to move the money around from somewhere. And, I mean, that's what these companies do, right? I mean, if you get one part of the company that's very strong, and then you got one that's a little weaker, but they have faith in what's going on the weaker side, then yes, the strong side will always support what's going to happen on the other end so that they can continue to fund that project, okay? Or at least that business division of the company. I'm not, obviously, there's no problem with PlayStation. PlayStation is carrying the whole damn corporation on their backs. All right, but they have to get the money from somewhere. So I could see what they could be doing. Maybe this is the reason why we're going to be getting more Marvel deals through Sony, is that maybe they're able to siphon money from the Sony Pictures department, okay, with any of their deals that they got through Disney and everything else or whatever. And, of course, obviously the fact that they have the license to Spider-Man, that they're able to move that over and be able to justify moving money from the Sony Pictures department into that to purchase more publishers at a later date.
That's actually a great factoid. I didn't even consider, because, like we said moments ago, I think everyone said it. Spider-Man: No Way Home, 1.7 billion right now. Right. That's again, that is without another week or 2, 3, because from what we understand, the digital sales drop on the 28th of February.
That's right.
So they got about another 3 or 4 weeks worth.
Fun fact about those digital sales. It's number 1 every week in digital movie sales, and there's just for the pre-order, and there's no actual release date yet, as far as I know. That was as of Sunday.
I'm pretty sure that I read the 28th of February.
If they did, then they very recently announced that. But it was crazy, because since it went up for pre-order, people usually don't buy the pre-orders until they have a date. But they did.
A dude just put in the chat, bullshit is organic. I'm sorry.
That actually is quite funny.
I'm sorry. Continue.
If Asante wasn't standing, he would have fallen off his chair.
But they basically have a free run of the box office until Batman comes out on March 4th.
Yes,
pretty much. So when the Teeth comes out in March, then they've got it under control. But yeah, that's a possibility. So it's a possibility that they could they could actually rely on their go-to IPs, like your Spider-Mans, like your Wolverine. God knows if they're ever going to make a Sinister Six game at some point, or at least introduce them into like the Spider Universe and maybe in a DLC or something. That's where they could justify taking money from the Sony Pictures department, put them into the actual to the SIE, okay, and then from there, then they'll be able to purchase. Like I said, said publishers, whichever one it could be. It could be Square, it could be Capcom. I don't believe any of that, but my God, the way 2022 has been going so far, I'm willing to believe anything right now. So yeah. I could see all these things happening, but for them to just be able to just willy-nilly go out and buy like Microsoft, not a chance in the world. I mean, Microsoft still has the money, which of course, Everborn said, they're going to tread lightly.
They have the cash. Right, that's the remember that Activision deal is a cash deal.
It is a cash deal, but they will tread lightly until the ink is dried. Mm-hmm. Right? So they may get like your IO Interactive at some point. Maybe they'll get that Crystal Dynamics at some point. Little bits here and there.
I think they buy those and just don't announce it, because you don't have to announce a small studio right away.
You don't have to, yeah. And maybe do
you
something
saw that
like
in
that.
E3 2018. Like they didn't buy all of those the day before. They bought them, collected them, and announced it when it was beneficial.
Every 3 days, Tencent does it.
Look at Tencent, like snakes in the grass. They grab this, they grab that, they grab this. Nobody even knows what the hell just happened to them. It's like they got shot with a poison dart, like in the, and all of a sudden you're like, what was that? And then, you know what I mean? Like that's the way they operate. So, not saying Microsoft's going to do that, but I'm saying that's a possibility that they'd be able to do things like that. Sony may do the same thing, except I can't see anything that actually fits the Sony catalog other than like something like a Square. Like Bungie, I did not see coming. I don't know. Capcom would certainly fit their bill perfectly, but
bite your tongue, sir.
I'm just saying. You know, yeah, I don't want to pay $105 for Resident Evil 9. Okay, let's face it. But
that is really a good point you make, Mag.
Yes.
You know, nobody has to complain about this person buying or that publisher buying it, but you know definitively that until they solve that problem, anytime they create some exclusive, that is literally money out your pocket.
And it's a lot of money at the pocket.
Yes,
it's not $60. It's not $70. You guys see all those tweets I've been sharing in our group from people all over the world?
Australia. Yes. Oh my God, how much they pay? Like, forget about it.
You know, the thing is,
it's like $120 down there.
Yeah, and people, well, it's $105 for me here in Canada. It's utterly ridiculous, right? So these are the problems that I foresee. But I mean, you know, and I don't see them changing that anytime soon. But anyways, to answer the question in a very roundabout Tarantino style way, we'll go back to the beginning here. Let's just say that I can see them doing it. I see them doing more of it this year, and I actually am expecting, and I think we should all expect something in the late spring, early summer around the now canceled E3, right? So I would expect some more fireworks coming. That let the dust settle on this right now, okay? For both companies, let the dust settle. There's going to be more news coming up, but I have a feeling you're looking at like June, July. I think there's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fireworks coming around that time of year, and expect them not only from Xbox or Microsoft, but expect more from Sony this year.
Yeah, and interesting. Wandering Dutch, let's get your opinion. But before I do, I got to thank a few people. 99 Rukin in the chat drops a $5 super chat and says, all of these buyouts lead to PlayStation, All-Stars 2, and Xbox Smash Brothers. Now we see who Nintendo buys now. I would love it, for sure. Casket Repair has been a member for 10 months of Here Comes the Boom. He says, Sony filled a hole in their catalog. Good for them. And Wandering Dutch, I want you to elaborate on this, because this is pretty interesting. When you start talking, people are talking about monopolies, and the market is getting smaller every day. And he says this: the Evans Data Corporation recently announced the result of their global developer population and demographic study, which suggests that there are currently 26.9 million developers worldwide. It's also predicted that the global developer population will increase to a crushing 45 million developers come 2030. So
if you want to get in the video game industry, now is the time.
Now start buying the stocks
right
now. Dutch.
Yeah, I mean, like if you ever wanted to work in that industry.
Oh,
like
yeah. Well, there's going to be jobs for everybody if you're talented enough to get in there. Dutch, does Sony grab a publisher? Can they afford to?
Yeah, I think they would. I think they could do, because a lot of what Sony do at the moment with regards to positioning their money and finances is specifically put it into, should we say, keepsakes or trusts and things like that, to kind of hold it away from the tax. The tax man, should we say, to ensure that it isn't swallowed up by taxes and things like that within the US. So yes, they could. They would have to then dilute some of those and get it out of it to get some money together for a publisher. I don't see why they couldn't in the future. Probably not now. I think give it a year or so, and they probably will look at things like publishers and larger organizations, generate some of that revenue back again, have a stronger year again this year. We know platform sales are going through the roof on both sides, Xbox and PlayStation, so they've got no issues there. Even though they're struggling to meet demand, it's going to continue to kind of rise over on that front. Software sales have got no issues there. I think the larger IP specifically are going to be perfectly fine. It's going to generate them plenty of money. And of course, upcoming shows like Uncharted that will release in the cinema, etc., will probably do relatively well. And I think that's only going to enhance their brand going forward as well, and increase share prices. And then, and obviously for them, knock-on effect is more money, more revenue. So in the future, they will. Touching on that point, of course, on there with regards to developers, there's a lot of people like to use the word monopoly. With regards everybody, with regards whether Xbox buys someone or PlayStation, like it would have to be a significant investment in the entire world's development community to be anywhere near a monopoly. To go into that even further, of course, that's just the developers worldwide. Software developers in general, that includes people that are working on back-end programs for systems, whether it be UI or XUI, or whether it be on game software, whether it be on anything in between, app software on consoles or app software on devices. That's worldwide development community for software in general. To get anywhere near close, there is 2,500 studios just in the US alone, game studios. Both Xbox and PlayStation haven't even scratched the surface of what is available in terms of development studios just in the US, let alone worldwide. And even Xbox themselves said, listen, we've got 0 studios over in the likes of India. And that's one area we're looking at investing in, is finding studios or making studios in India and growing that segment, or going over to Asia and growing that segment, because there is a lot of studios in Asia, but there's a lot of up and coming indie studios.
I'll tell you what, you know what country that has me very intrigued is the studios that are up and coming from Korea. We have seen some absolutely astounding talent out of there, and I hope Microsoft does go. And
baby.
Yes, that's absolutely
you know what
right.
it is? They're very, very intelligent people. Obviously, we know, and it's not a slant. It's certainly not like anything against the Asian community, but they study very hard. They are very intelligent people. It is, and again, this goes by wherever you live, wherever you're brought up. But certain demographics worldwide have different ways of doing things. Asia and the way they look at their children and the way they study and the way they want them to study, etc. It's very much academic. You have to do well in school. You have to do this. You have to perform, and this is, I mean, it's testament to the fact that like Asian students in the UK, in the US, worldwide are prevalent because they get out, they get their degrees, they get their knowledge, and they go to these big universities and academic areas worldwide to do their studies further. They're very, very, very much into ensuring that they have a very high standard of knowledge and, should we say, academic prevalence worldwide. But same applies, like I say, when you go into Europe, for even in the Netherlands. Academia in terms of learning several languages from the get-go. When you go into school over there, you learn 2 or 3 languages. Same can't be said for the UK. You just learn the one until you get to secondary school. But the point is as you're mentioning, Asian market, specifically the amount of developers there, they're very intelligent people. So when it comes to actually getting into development, a lot of them start off just by playing around with hacking or coding or something like that, just in their spare time, in whatever it is that they can do, and then end up creating things. And these are kids. A lot of them start off as kids as well, because they're very much
right out of high school.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And even sometimes before that, they're just starting to play around with things and code things, and it's a very big market. And we, like you mentioned, we've seen some really talented stuff coming out of that already. And these are from just guys playing around, kind of as a little hobby in the background.
Having that kind of talent to be that smart. Wow, I'm just playing.
Yeah, I'm just playing, just making something in my spare time, and then making something that looks like what would come out of a AAA studio in your spare time. It's just insane. But the point of the matter is like, in terms of Sony, they're not finished, and I wouldn't expect them to be. They've got there's a lot more areas in terms of their certain genres that they want to fill, and they'll get other studios to be able to cater to that particular genre. This is what Xbox are doing. So Xbox have specifically purchased separate studios because they cater to certain things. So we've got racing, we've got sports, we've got shooters, we've got RTS, we've got simulation, we've got sim driving, we've got Western RPGs, we've got. They're catering for all avenues as much as you can go. They've got kid friendly now when you're looking at.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
part of Activision. You've got
Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, among others. Yeah.
And then in between that, then they're looking at things like cloud. So that's another section entirely. Then we're looking at metaverse. There's another section entirely, and that's what Sony's going to do. Like, it'd be a fool to think if Sony weren't going to say, I know what Microsoft's doing.
Take your drink, damn it.
Yeah. I know. Damn you.
That is a new pause game. Take a drink. Go ahead.
I love it. That's great. Don't worry. The host isn't getting drunk. This is just water, so it's okay.
It's okay. There's just water in here too. I promise. It doesn't look like it, but it is.
You would be fools to think that they wouldn't that it wouldn't be doing they wouldn't be looking at what Microsoft are doing and going, right, you know what it is, this makes sense. They're catering to certain sections and making sure they've got their ground covered in all aspects. So when you're going to be looking at this and saying, we've got our action adventure sorted, we've got our story-driven games, we've got our sports games, we've got Gran Turismo, which is coming out very shortly. We've got MLB, which is still first party, even though it's went multi-plat due to MLB rights. Still first party game. So we've got MLB covered. We've got 2K pretty much pinned down at the moment in terms of the advertisements and things like that. We really need to look at other avenues, and for them, they've got Ratchet and Clank. I would kind of put in more of a family section.
100%. Yeah.
So they've got kind of that area covered. They've still got older IPs like Medieval and things like that they can still look to pursue. They need to pin down FPS. I've mentioned that. Hopefully, Bungie will cater to that, and it will be exclusive. My personal want is for them to make a good FPS exclusive for the platform that really stands out. Or bring back, again, get someone working on SOCOM, or bring back Resistance in a big way. But Sony's not done by any stretch of the imagination, and I hope the purchases of studios going forwards just make sense.
Yeah, great points, dude.
The only issue I've got with this right now, this particular acquisition right now, is it doesn't make sense. And that's the only thing I want future acquisitions to do from Sony. Just make sense.
You know what? I think the big picture is going to make sense. I just think that they are just they've narrowed the view, in my opinion.
But so that's why I think I disagree a little bit with Dutch there. I think this does make sense for them. I do, like I said, they absolutely overpaid for it, but they paid what they had to in this world, right? In this new world that they woke up and found themselves in, and they really have neglected that sort of first-person shooter multiplayer, that whole piece of the market that they just rested their laurels on because they had market share. Like, oh, everybody's going to come to us. Well, they're not going to come to you if they get bought out. And maybe they do come to you, but you don't know. And one thing a shareholder does not like is uncertainty. So in order to remove uncertainty, AKA risk, you have to spend some money, right? And they spent, again, I'm not saying they didn't overpay, but they needed to make a splash in this world. And whatever Bungie is working on next, or whatever they can help with, because I'm thinking they're also going to try to utilize Bungie to help their other teams
100%.
that are created service-based games. And I think in that way it does make sense. So when you think about the knowledge transfer that they're going to get from this,
Everborn.
Yes, sir.
I want because you were away from the computer earlier when I mentioned this. The reason I don't think it makes sense is because of a company that you specifically want required is also in partnership with Xbox for the purpose of featuring core development of games and ideas and applications and stuff like that. But that wasn't an acquisition. That's a partnership. What Sony have outlined here is essentially a strategic partnership to help develop games as a service for Sony, but they've paid the privilege of it $3.8 billion for that. Whereas currently, the wording states everything else remains multi-platform, whereas they're working on this thing in the background. So as it stands, essentially, it's the equation of a partnership deal like it would be the Microsoft Sega partnership that we've seen, but they've purchased Bungie to get the same output.
But let me ask you a question. How much do we believe that Jim Dance Moves, I Believe in Generations, Ryan, was organic Jim? How much do we believe that he was telling the truth in terms of autonomy and things that they want? Like Destiny, look, it makes sense. It is a service-based game. They want to go into services, but I do think that this makes the splash that they needed.
I want to believe that they're hands off their developers, but it's only a matter of months ago, and I'm talking very few months, only a matter of months ago, did we not have the Days Gone developer saying how much Sony put them down for not doing good enough, even though they outsold. They did 8 million before it came onto PC, and the game performed poorly, etc. So, yeah, you're right. Do we believe them? This is why I don't believe them. When you've got developers coming out and saying Sony are directly telling us we're not good enough, that's not allowing someone to do as good as they can do or have free roam, as it were.
And tells them what games to make. Like they're like, oh, you can make an Uncharted game. We don't hear that from the Xbox side. Like we have specific examples of like Obsidian coming out and be like, hey, let's do whatever we want.
Yeah. They asked what was it in 2001? They asked Phil, where's Banjo-Kazooie? He goes, go talk to Rare. That's their bag. You know, they choose. That's what they do, right?
Bungie better have a prenup in that contract. You know, third time's the charm.
This is Bungie. You know they do.
There's no doubt. But you know what? Real quick, let me just bring everyone.
Here's a bingo question. How long does this partnership last?
Wow, good call.
That's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depends when Amazon wants to cough up the money for them.
Yeah. Everborn, while you are here, who is Jim Ryan talking about? Who do they acquire? Is it a publisher? Is it smaller studios?
Honestly, I think anything is on the table, right? I think they know. I think Sony as a company knows that if they don't have the money, they got to find the money, right? Right now is not a world where you want to be in, where your main competitor as well as new wolves that are at the gate could take away at any time. You could wake up you could wake up in a cold sweat to find out you just lost another thing, right? And if they don't want to be in a world where they are boxed out of the industry and they can only rely on their first party titles, which are, $50-100 million games that are by and large single player outings, right? That's not a place where they want to be, right? So they are at the top right now. Well, number 2 behind Tencent, but they're relatively, we can say that they're at the top, but today's elite may not be tomorrow's elite. So you always have to, every investment that is done is about hedging against the proverbial inflation, right? So they need to hedge against a future where they can't rely on their market share because everything's bought out, right? So I think if something is available that makes sense for them, they get it. And this was a very smart purchase. I think this is a smarter purchase for them than Square, right?
Okay.
They're already sleeping with Square. They don't have to go marry Square.
Right? Basically, why pay for the milk?
Why buy the cow, right?
They already got the box.
You're already getting the milk,
right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, they did not have a shooter, right? They didn't have that. They needed this, and that's why they probably paid double what Bungie was probably worth. Because if you don't do this, what's the future tomorrow? So, but about Jim, I looked at Phil's yacht, to quote King David, right? Jamaican Jim.
I was just going to ask you, are we talking Jamaican Jim here?
We're talking Jamaican Jim. Jimmy Cliff, as I call him.
Yeah, man.
You see it, right? So Jamaican Jim saw the yacht, right? And then Jamaican Jim is in hot water because now his yacht is in trouble. So he said, I want everything Microsoft is doing. I want all of that. They on PC. I want that. They doing services. I want that too. Right? They've moved beyond console. That's what I want too. They in the cloud. Let me get that. Right? They just ordered the Microsoft special, and now you're starting to see that. So all of this talk about, this is why you can't listen to PR speak from anybody. Right? I'm not listening to Phil when he says he desires Call of Duty to stay on PlayStation. He's saying what he has to say in that moment to get these deals done. These are not nice people, right? Now, again, except for Jim. Jim is a nice man, right?
You're career criminals, Everborn.
Career
right?
criminals.
So again, when he says he believed in Generations, that was beneficial to him at the moment because he had a new console to launch, right? When he said organic, again, he's trying to set himself or the company apart from what Microsoft is doing. And when he even talked about, we get that they need to stay multi-platform, we understand this. He was talking to Phil about that. Not Phil like, hey, I'm trying to convince you, but trying to set themselves apart so that they look good, saying, oh, you see, Sony buys somebody, they understand keeping things multi-platform. Microsoft is buying stuff and wants to take it away. Every word that he says is about a contrast between him and his competition. And again, they're not fighting each other the way we fight in the Twitter streets about this. But again, just remember, you can't listen to those words. So now, we see like they bought Nixus for a reason, right? We see how God of War is performing on Steam, right? All these things are leading to they want to move day and date. They want to move to the cloud. They want to move to services, right? And what happens with PlayStation Infinite, which I heard that's what the service is going to be called.
Yeah, Infinite.
Right.
Of all names.
Right.
I listen. Right. We were actually supposed to talk about that tonight. I don't want to get too much into it, but if like I said before, and I'll say it again, if that leaked image is true, and I have a very, very strong suspicion that it is, that there's nothing on that page that makes me want to subscribe. I'm sorry, not
unless you get day and date.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's the thing.
Day and date has to be top tier. So what is the cost? That's the question.
Right. And I want to quote something. He says that this is an important step in our strategy. Hold on. Yeah, this is an important. No, wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. I got it now. This is when he was talking to GameIndustry.biz. Okay. Bungie will operate autonomously within Sony Interactive Entertainment organization, and they will continue to publish on other platforms. We get the importance of this. Do you, though? Sony gets the importance of multi-platform. Right. That's interesting. We have grown studios organically, but he can't just say I was lying. So he has to say we've grown them organically
right here.
But we've also made a number of acquisitions over the year, whether it be Naughty Dog, Guerrilla Games, Sucker Punch Productions, and our most recent Insomniac. All the things that people point to when they talk about the quality of Sony are from studios that they acquired. Let's remember that. So again, these words about expanding the sort of PlayStation not PlayStation, but like PlayStation Studios, right? What you saw, Xbox Game Studios, Sony turns around, PlayStation Studios, right? You see, Xbox Live, Sony turns around and has PlayStation Plus. You see Microsoft moving towards PC releases. Sony's doing PC releases. Now they're talking about a Game Pass competitor that doesn't have day and date. Don't worry, it will have day and date.
Yeah, it
will fail. So my point is, if you want to know Sony's roadmap, look at what Microsoft was doing 3 years ago.
That's been going on for 20 years, everyone.
Right? Yeah. So this is really where we are with this, and I do think this is good overall, because guess what? Sony knew this purchase signals. They knew they couldn't rest on their laurels. They knew they couldn't just be one of those guys who was like Al Bundy, right? Like I was a high school football player. I was the number one, and then they lived the yesteryears all the time, right? Mm-hmm. This is them knowing, hey, I can't sit back and rely on God of War and Ghost and all of that. I have to do something new, right? So this is what they're doing, and they're pushing in that space, and this is competition. This is what it looked like you said, Mag. You wanted competition, now you got it, and it's a bare knuckle boxing match.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this before, Sony gave us Last of Us and Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima and Days Gone when they virtually had no competition. What are we going to get from them now that they do have proverbial boot on their neck?
Well, yeah,
right?
And
this is the beginning of that. This is the beginning of them. But don't forget, Microsoft is that kid who was bullied all year, and then over the summer he went to the gym and he got his growth spurt, and now he's coming back, taking the bully's girl and mushing him in the head. So understand that that's what we're dealing with right now.
Can I ask you a quick question, Everborn? I'm sorry, not hijacking anything. I got to ask you this question. You mentioned it about 4 minutes ago. You're saying Sony has to acquire, correct? Anything. Where, in your opinion, because we've already got everybody else's, where do you think this money's going to come from? Where are they going to get this money from?
They got to beg, steal, and borrow. And they're going to charge you $109 for a game. That's where they're going to get it from. Right?
From outside investors, or like my thought was that it was another division of the same company.
You could they're gonna have if they intend to make a big purchase, and I'm gonna bring Kay Asante in on the conversation before we get on ad here because we're closing in on the 2 hours. Kay Asante, to Everborn and Mag's point, we're not saying that they're gonna have to steal the money. But that's
what I'm saying. I don't speak for the whole PTG, but I'm saying they're going to beg, cheat, steal, and borrow. But again, just one thing, Boom. When Disney bought Fox, they bought it in a combination of cash and stock.
Stocks.
That's a way you can buy things.
Yes.
Microsoft don't have that problem.
Finance.
They have a cash problem. They have too much of it. That's Microsoft's problem. Kay Asante, where does Sony go next? Where do you think?
What Everborn said is exactly right. Right. There are ways to buy things, and of course, now that borrowing money is cheap, they can also do that. Right. That is an option. Although. And I agree, they need to buy and they need to acquire because that's the name of the game. It's cuffing season, people. Musical chairs. You better sit down before you're left on the floor. It's happening, right? But what I will caution people, they're throwing numbers out left and right. They're throwing publishers here and there. Take-Two, really? I mean, I can see it. But that'd be like that dude that makes $40,000 a year buying a $30,000 Tesla. You're gonna be working the rest of your life to pay for that thing. It's not within you. Hey, I'm not talking about you, Mr. Moneybags. You can afford that. Not everybody got it like you. You know what I'm saying? You can buy it, but you're one flat tire away from total disaster, as they say. You know what I'm saying? You can
when you drive that kind of car and you go to get it fixed, you cannot tell them give me the sufferer's price.
Exactly. So you can buy your studio here, buy your studio there, but people throwing around EA, people throwing around
that's more of a merger. That would be a merger.
Take-Two, get the heck out of here. I do not see that happening, and if they do that. That would be a very, very bad decision on their part because that will be very hard to keep up with, right? Very hard. You cannot. Your arm's too small to box with Microsoft in this specific instance. It just can't be done. But as you've seen, right, and they are very smart, very, very smart. PlayStation is. We know this. Sony is one of the most intelligent, shrewd business folks that are in the game, right?
And
think about it, huh? And petty, and petty also. Yes, true. That's why I'm usually with the mag on it. I love my PlayStation. That's so much the company that runs it, because their moves are a little bit shisty in my opinion. But look at what they did with Insomniac, right? They took what's the equivalent of a grain of sand to Microsoft and they put it on their back. And because of that, their PS4 and 5 is shining bright with that small, teeny, tiny purchase they did. Even the Bethesda purchase doesn't come close to the output so far that Insomniac has given them. So they're able to take a little bit and really take it there and make purchases that are very intelligent and all that. But I will just say, and I don't have too much to add to it because you guys have made all the points. I agree that purchases will continue. They've even said that purchases will continue. But the folks that keep going, they'll buy everything. Yeah, I agree that they should have bought a Bungie and they will continue to buy because you don't want to wait 18, 20 months for the giant to be done eating their dinner and then come back for more. You know what I'm saying? You don't want that. You want to grab what you can while you can. So it's good that they did that, right? And they paid extra to do that real quick.
How long before Sony opens the Sony gaming division and puts
and makes Herman Holtz CEO of gaming at Sony division? Yeah, you know how it goes. But no, I agree with everybody on the panel. Purchases need to happen. Purchases will continue to happen. But for those who are out there talking about it's open season, they're buying Take-Two. Yeah, I don't know if that's a factor.
That's not happening.
That's not happening. Sorry, guys.
Never say never. We are living in a simulation after that Activision deal. So just never thought Microsoft, even though they had the money.
Yeah, but Microsoft has the means to do so.
Well, we still never thought they
major
would.
difference.
And between now and the time that they finish that deal, that money they spent will almost be
already
back in their coffers.
Exactly. It'll already be right back in where it started.
Because
the Take-Two thing just doesn't make sense, though. That's the only, in terms of financial, Take-Two don't actually financially earn as much as people want to believe.
But like everyone said, it does make sense. To them, it makes sense because they need to fill a gap. Like, especially now that they know that COD money is going to slowly dry up, they do know that there's a built-in ecosystem of folks who not only buy the Destiny games, they buy them and they continue to buy the expansions every month, right? They're not 400 million players, but it's a strong contingent of multiplayer gamers who literally go where the game goes. COG went to PC because that was where he could get it 60 frames. And then Xbox came out and released the 60 frames per second. And what did COG do? He came back to Xbox. There are people who go where Destiny 2 goes. And they feel like maybe they can turn that spark, maybe tweak the story a little bit, maybe add better lore, maybe make it more concise, and then bring all of us to that yard. I don't know if it'll work, but it's a good try.
What state would Sony be in if they woke up 3 months from now and they found out Microsoft was able to work out a deal with Bungie and they lost Destiny?
That's my point.
That's
my point.
That is what they're spending the money for.
You don't wait until the Giants done with that 18-month deal and then come back and go, well, you still waiting around here, the Bungie? Well, I guess we might give you that $20 billion. It's ridiculous, but for us, it's stuff on the shoe. What we might consider.
And what they're saying
with keeping it multi-platform. They haven't said they've kept it on Xbox. Multi-platform reiterates.
Could just be PC and PS5.
Yeah, right. Again, if this purchase says, hey, if you're a Sony fan and you play first-person shooters, we still have a home for you here. If they didn't do this, then they're basically telling all of their first-person shooter fans, hey, this ain't the
Xbox
house
is for you.
This is just a sad dad platform, and if you like to shoot stuff, we can't help you.
Sad dad simulator, baby.
Well, listen, this has been a solid 2-hour show. We had an incredible topic, one giant topic. We split it down the middle. Let me catch up with some of the super chats and we'll do outros. Getting Stuff Done drops a very generous $10 super chat in regards to the conversation before. He says Japanese antitrust keeps those publishers safe, meaning Konami and Capcom and most of those Japanese studios.
Hey,
I still
anybody could get got. I don't care how much security you have.
If Bethesda can have a studio in Japan, anybody can get got.
Yeah,
but Bethesda was able to do it.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Splendiferous, generous friend of the show, drops not one but two super chats. He says, "People, we are missing it. Sony has taken KOTOR, Alan Wake, Deathloop, and now Bungie is going to make them a Halo revival. They have seen the numbers and want some."
Yeah.
And a second super chat says, of $2 says, "Sony is dipping their hands into the Microsoft basket." Well, then you better slap those hands, Microsoft. Brett Bingham drops a $2 super chat and says, let's see, desires in air quotes. And Power drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, this isn't competition, it's desperation. Okay, I was gonna say, I thought it said depression. I'm like, wow, I hope they're not depressed to spend that kind of money. But listen, let's get to the outros, and we'll start first with our guests. Kevin, the Muffin Man, who obviously is one of the incredible voices over at Project X Talk, which I was on their show a couple weeks ago. You should definitely check that out each and every week. They're good guys over there, great topics. Kevin, please sell your brand. Tell everyone where they can subscribe to to your incredible YouTube channel, but more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, so if you want to talk to me directly, I'm at the Muffin Mon everywhere. It's a 1 and 7 I and an O and 7 A. You can follow us at Project X Talk on Twitter to stay up to date with all our latest videos, releases. We release daily content related to Xbox gaming. We have a weekly podcast about Xbox Thursday, 5 p.m. We do a live show here on YouTube. So if that sounds interesting, come over. We're aiming for 1,000 subs before the end of this year. We're almost at 300. I think we're about nine subs away. So if you guys liked what you heard from me, please come over, check out the content, consider subscribing. I would appreciate any support. And we really do. We love interacting with everyone. So if you like this chat, come over. We'll chat games with you, and you can join our Discord to chat games with us more. But that's all I got.
Great stuff. Real quick in the chat, One Bad Mother, friend of everyone here. He says the Japanese laws were meant to protect them from hostile takeovers from Chinese companies. Microsoft can purchase a Japanese company.
Right.
Thank you.
There are review boards, just like Microsoft has to go through right now to buy Activision Blizzard.
Yes.
People have to review it, and if it's not like harmful to the industry, they let it go down. That's really as simple as it is. Like there are review bodies, just like with any other actor.
Well, I mean, not simple as it is. Palms,
many grease palms for sure.
Hey, man.
Listen, everybody wants a yacht like Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. But
is it a coincidence that they editorialized this Activision deal and said Microsoft showed up in a yacht?
Yeah, that's right. To pick up the employees. Yeah,
they were looking for a life raft, and Microsoft showed up in a yacht.
I love it. I love it. Mr. Real Nonstop Talent, brother. Talk about your podcast. Talk about what you got going on, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
All right. Yeah. Well, boom. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here. Like I told you once before, Double Barrel Gaming was the first podcast I ever started to listen to.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
For those people that have not seen it, I used to work for Telemundo. I am a reporter. I interviewed Mr. Boomstick last week. The interview is on YouTube on Real Nonstop Together Talent. You can see the interview I have with Mr. Boomstick, King David, Lord Soren. I got Korean artists like B1A4, Uptension. I got Katrina Law that used to be in Arrow. A lot of work that I used to do in Telemundo is right there on Real Nonstop Talent. It's a pleasure to be with you guys because, I come from Telemundo. I come from the TV land, and I admire what you guys do because you guys are making public without the money behind you. So everybody here in the panel, I admire you all, and I'm blessed, and I'm glad to have been with you guys tonight.
Well, I was glad to have you on, brother, and we're definitely going to get you back for sure. Wandering Dutch, let's get you on out of here, and then we'll get Mag out of here, and then we'll Keosante and Everborn Saga. But Dutch, please, I know you have your show coming up this Wednesday afternoon. Talk about that. Where could people subscribe to the channel, potentially buy some of your merch that you're wearing literally right now, and also reach out to you for your opinions on social media?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, both me and Asante are repping the midweek merch this week.
Very nice.
Yes, very nice. But yeah, you can find me over at Wondering Dutch on YouTube and on Twitter. This week, of course, on Wednesday we have the mix-up returning with Mr. Badbit and Geordie from Xbox Era as well.
Oh, excellent!
So two sides of the coins, talking about both the acquisition, of course, by Sony on Bungie. And also the insane amount of IPs that Xbox have currently got in development with over 40 titles. So we're going to be talking about that, talking about the kind of breadth of the studios working on that. But yes, that's going to be insane. You can hit me up, of course, on Twitter. If my DMs aren't open, I do try to get to the filtered DMs and everything as well. So I'm up for a chat. Anybody can drop me a DM and talk about anything. I'll try and reply as much as I can. DMs are busy, so Thank you, and I will respond.
Thank you, brother. Definitely appreciate that. The mag, let's get you
Yes,
one
sir.
out of here. Everyone in the chat is asking, when are we getting the next Unicorn Nation video? Hopefully,
And what did you
soon.
do to your child in that last one? That was
It was.
Well, I gave him a stone cold stunner. But let me tell you something. That means that Let me tell you something. It means no one's safe. That's what it means. But anyways, nobody's safe. And sorry, I'm not wearing a midweek mix-up shirt tonight, guys. I'm wearing an Asteroids shirt. Look.
Nice.
So my nice 1982 Asteroids shirt. But,
that's right.
Hey, it is what it is. But guys, listen, it was a hell of a show tonight. Guests, you guys were awesome. Chat, you guys were awesome. And man, what a chat tonight. With the numbers were stunning. Please go check out these two gents right there. And check out, of course, our panel. My goodness, everybody's got a show going on. It's awesome. And as for me, whenever someone says something stupid, like Batman, I'll be there watching and waiting. So keep an eye on it because, it seems to go viral whenever you see the mag getting on there all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on, but I'm happy about it. But anyways, guys, we had a great show, great time. Thank you for allowing me to be here and let my voice be heard week in and week out. It's always been great. And
pleasure,
guys,
brother.
we will see you guys all next Monday.
Yes, we certainly will, Mag. Have a good night, brother. We know you got to
Thanks,
get out of
guys.
here, brother.
I am
All right,
gonna
bro. Kay Asante, please talk. First of all, we got to talk about the numbers that you're seeing on the show.
Yes.
Talk about what happened on Saturday, because that was a monster show, and this is back to back.
It's absolutely crazy. So the last week's show has been the highest rated show consistently. The week before was the highest, and last week we had, I think, 1,200 viewers or something like that, and counting.
Nice.
Pretty cool,
Nice.
A small channel, relatively new. Quite proud, pretty awesome. And it's thanks mostly in part to all the folks on the panel here and the folks in the chat who come and watch and all that. So it's been pretty great. And I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to fully promote it yet, but
don't say it yet. But it's somebody big.
We will say there's a substantial individual. This is the year where my podcasting heroes show up, and I'm starting with a big one. So hopefully this week will be pretty cool. So yes,
I think I know. See, I get the
You've
behind
got
the
Colin
scenes
Moriarty
action.
on, haven't you?
Yes, that's exactly. I would
my thought.
love to have Colin Mario. I really would. I would love if
Me
you
too.
if you there,
Me too,
Colin.
okay.
I promise I'll keep the F-bombs to low. Actually, our show is PG-13.
Or
so
is it
there's no
Jamaican
F-bombs.
Jim?
I would.
Or
I'd
Jamaican
actually
Jim.
pay money to see Jamaican Jim on the show. To be honest with you.
But yes, it is the Gaming Circle podcast. TKO Asante on Twitter. You can reach out to me. You follow me, I'll follow you back. Hopefully, you'll take part in our show. You'll come. We love having folks in the chat. You'll come in and communicate with us. And it's myself and Mr. Everborn Slanderer over here. We always have fun every weekend. Please come join us. And if I'm not mistaken, very soon the other podcast will be coming. Mr. Everborn,
coming back soon.
Thank you, guests, for being here. I appreciate all the guys who the new voices who are always in here. It's always great. Same way Boom gave me a shot, and here I am continuing the work. And I appreciate you guys being here doing the same thing. It's always inspiring to have new folks come on. So yes, thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely, brother. And Everborn Saga, why don't you talk about your incredible invention known as the Everborn Saga? You showed us some artwork in the DM that we got a chance to see. We always get a chance. We get the early advance of the artwork, and this one was the best one yet. Talk about about the business. Also, talk about the potential on the reel coming back. We know that's going to be a big thing. You're doing some work behind the scenes. And where could people reach out to you in a conversation and potentially argue with you about your opinions?
I only speak facts, not opinions, but I am Everborn Saga everywhere. That is Instagram, Facebook, TikTok,
Stadia.
Not Stadia. I never paid attention to that garbage. But also Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, and Meta. My God.
Oh, stop it.
Jesus Christ. But most importantly, everbornsaga.com, where you can get into the no, we don't have NFTs yet, but we will. There will be an Everborn metaverse.
Cut it out, man.
But no, we're putting together. Are you into anime? Are you into manga? Are you into Western fantasy? And are you into the MCU? That is what the Everborn Saga is, all mixed into one. Go check it out. It is 4 series, 1 story, and each series follows a different character telling the story from their vantage point. It's a whole thing we're putting together. I think it's amazing, but they pay me to say that. So you go check it out for yourselves. We just had a Kickstarter funded in the first 24 hours. We're getting ready to launch the book from that, The Redlands Chapter 1, in February. And then we got a new book, which you guys have seen. I haven't showed anybody that yet, but you guys have seen the cover for that. That's The Remnant, which is coming out later this year. And full steam ahead, man. We got 2 other books right in production as we speak. So all full steam ahead. But I do want to tell people also, YouTube, go to YouTube. Look for Everborn Saga on YouTube. You will find me, and you'll find me and Mr. K. Asante's show On The Real, where it's just like this, but we talk TV and movies, and it's a fun time all around. So Everborn Saga everywhere, and please buy some of the comics. I need you. We don't have shows like we used to, so I need you guys to go to everbornsaga.com and pick up some of those comics. And
Absolutely,
that is all
brother.
I have, and I can't wait for PlayStation day and date on PC. That's it.
Well, that's definitely a possibility. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We had well over 600 people in the chat, which is amazing. Thank you for all the incredible super chats that have come in. Obviously, they help power the show in more ways than you realize. Same thing with the channel memberships. And of course, I'm going to close out tonight's show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. Also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.